want to practice.
So glad that you were able to come and come with us today to talk about embracing the change with menopause. My name is Linda. I am with the Staff and Faculty Health and Wellbeing Program. And one of the things that we do is talk about and sort of get health and wellness information out and talked about with the community. And one of the areas that we were really lacking was this one, menopause. So I'm very happy to introduce our speaker today, Sophia Dinsmore, who is going to take us through some of the information and get us started on this conversation. And then we'll also have Dr. Fejerman join us later. So Sophia, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Sophia Dinsmore. I'm here as a dietetic intern working at UC Davis. I'm working alongside Linda Adams, the registered dietitian for the Staff and Faculty Health and Wellbeing Department. In my internship, I am here working on my concentration in worksite wellness and health promotion, which are two things I'm very passionate about. I currently hold my Bachelor's of Science in Food and Nutrition from Framingham State University, located in Framingham, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. I am working on my Master's in Nutrition Education, also from Framingham State. I work as a nutrition educator for the YMCA. So I work with kids as young as 2 years old, learning how to cook with their parents, which is really cute and fun to see. And then I also work as a diet technician at a skilled nursing facility and rehab. So this is for senior citizens. So I work with two very different populations, but I love it. And I love learning about different people and their needs and wants around food and nutrition specifically. So thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to get into the topic of menopause. The goal of this webinar is to bring about awareness and spark conversation around menopause. It is a very under-discussed topic for whatever reason. And hopefully we can evoke change and policy development around this transition for those who are experiencing it. This is a basic menopause 101 kind of session to learn about signs, symptoms, symptom management, and to better support people going through this. And even if you are not experiencing menopause yourself, or you never will, just kind of understanding what someone's going through and how you can support them in this transition. So I'm going to get started here. So first, just a little housekeeping. This webinar is for informational and educational purposes only. This does not substitute professional or medical advice or consultations with a healthcare provider. We're not here to diagnose or come up with symptom management for you. That is something you talk with your doctor about. And thank you to those who filled out the registration survey. So the point of the registration survey is to understand how these symptoms may impact you as employees of UC Davis, and finding ways to support you through this transition and improve your quality of life. So what is menopause? Menopause is a natural part of aging. It is not a health condition. It is not a chronic illness. It is normal. So this is the decline in your reproductive hormones being released by your ovaries, so estrogen and progesterone. This is caused by the loss of ovarian follicular function. So your ovaries are these fluid-filled sacs inside, your follicles are fluid-filled sacs inside of your ovaries that secrete hormones. When you start puberty, you have about 300,000 to 400,000 healthy follicles. And by the time you reach menopause, you're down to just 1,000. On average, transition begins around mid-45 to 55 years of age, and the average age is about 51. There's no clear way to determine what age you will start menopause. Every individual is different. It is diagnosed when you've gone 12 consecutive months without a period, and this marks the permanent ending of your menstruation cycle. About 6,000 individuals a day reach menopause. that 12 months without a period and that permanent ending. So it's clear that you're not alone in this transition. A lot of people are experiencing it every day, which kind of begs the question of why aren't we talking about it more? Why is there not more education prior to reaching that point of menopause? It's better to be prepared before it happens than to be kind of in the dark experiencing these changes and not knowing what's happening. So there are three stages of menopause. The first stage is perimenopause or the menopause transition. So this is about 8 to 10 years prior to menopause, prior to that 12 months without a period marking the permanent ending of your menstruation. So this is the stage when people start experiencing symptoms, having the hot flashes, the vaginal dryness, brain fog, or changes in your sleep. Your ovaries gradually stop producing estrogen. And in the last 1 to 2 years of perimenopause, your drop in estrogen accelerates greatly. You are still having menstrual cycles during this period, and you're still able to get pregnant, which is important to keep in mind. Then there's menopause. So again, this is that permanent ending of your menstruation cycle. You're no longer having menstrual cycles, and your ovaries stop releasing eggs and stop producing most of your estrogen. Then is postmenopausal. So this is the entirety of your life from menopause on. Your symptoms may be improving. For most, it does, but you still may experience symptoms for a decade or longer. And this is when your estrogen levels are at their lowest. So you're at an increased risk of osteoporosis and heart disease, which we'll discuss later in the webinar. So signs and symptoms. I just want to preface saying that no two people's experience with menopause is the same. Your signs and your symptoms may be different. They may be worse. They may be less worse than someone else's. There's no two people are the same. And this list is not an all-encompassing list of symptoms. These are more just the main most talked about ones, but some people experience very different symptoms than others. So first is sleep changes. So around midlife, people experience trouble getting a good night's sleep. And you may experience this during perimenopause because your hormones in your sleep are irregular. Disturbances are often associated with hot flashes. So having unexpected wakenings. A hot flash at night is called a night sweat, but they're basically the same thing. It is just a term for having a hot flash at night. Changes in the brain that lead to hot flashes may also trigger these awakenings. So scientists believe that there are changes happening in your brain that trigger you to wake up, and then you're hit with a hot flash. I'm sure others say that they wake up with the hot flash, but that's just what scientists believe. Individuals can also develop sleep apnea at this point in time, and this may be due to the decreased estrogen and progesterone levels. Postmenopausal individuals are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop sleep apnea compared to perimenopausal. So it's important to keep in mind how you feel when you wake up. Are you feeling well rested or not? And if this warrants an appointment with your doctor to discuss possible sleep apnea. Depressive symptoms and anxiety may also be contributing to sleep changes. This is a point in time where individuals are more susceptible to depression, and we all know how hard it can be to get a good night's sleep if you're feeling anxious. Changes in your period. This is kind of what most people think of. So your periods may be closer together, they may be farther apart, bleeding heavier than normal, spotting, periods lasting longer than a week. And it may resume after 1 year without bleeding. So we talked that diagnosable criteria for menopause was 12 consecutive months without a period, marking the permanent ending. But you may get a period at month 13 or 14, and then technically you're not in menopause anymore. You're still in perimenopause. It's believed that when you start skipping 2 periods in a row, there's a 95% chance that your final period will be within the next 4 years. This is not a fact, though. We don't know this. Again, no two individuals are the same. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when your last period is going to be. No one really knows. It's all dependent on the individual. So next is bladder changes. So your bladder control can change. You can experience incontinence. So the sudden urge to urinate or urine leaks during exercise, sneezing, coughing, laughing. The drop in estrogen causes your pelvic floor muscles to become weak. You'll find throughout this webinar that estrogen is responsible for a lot of functions in the body, not just reproductive functions. Estrogen keeps your bladder and your urethra healthy. Hot flashes, the big one. A lot of people experience this, and it can be a very troublesome symptom. This is the sudden feeling of heat in the upper half or whole body. Heavy sweating and cold chills can follow. They can last anywhere from 30 seconds to 10 minutes. I'm sure 10 minutes experiencing a hot flash feels like a million minutes. You can see physical effects of red blotches may appear on the body. This can happen several times per hour, a few times per day, or a few times per week. Again, it's individualized. Decreased estrogen levels cause your body's thermostat, the hypothalamus, to become overly sensitive to temperature changes. So when there's a slight temperature change, your body kind of overreacts and goes into a frenzy. So to cool itself down, you have heavy sweating, that feeling of heat all across your body. Your body's trying to regulate its temperature the best that it can. Vaginal health and sexuality changes. So your vagina may become drier, and this can make sexual intercourse uncomfortable. There's this added friction there. And your feelings about sex can change. Your libido may decrease, increase, or stay the same. Next is mood changes. So you may be feeling moodier or more irritable at this time. Scientists are not 100% sure why this is. They believe it's kind of a culmination of things. So possible causes are stress, family changes. People may be experiencing kind of empty nesting syndrome. The kids are out of the house or they're off at college, moving out. Aging parents is definitely an added stressor. Worrying about, are your parents still independent? Are you taking them to their appointments? Are they able to still live on their own, or do you need to come up with kind of a different plan for them? Depression. So this is a point in time where people are more susceptible to depression and feeling tired. So we talked about sleep changes earlier, and feeling tired can definitely make someone a little bit more irritable. So it's important to talk with others. So knowing that you are not alone in this transition at all. We talked about 6,000 people a day are reaching the point of menopause. So you're definitely not alone. Talking with others about your symptoms or seeking mental health counseling if needed. Talking to a therapist about your feelings and emotions. Um, at this time, I want to highlight the UC Davis ASAP. So this is the Academic and Staff Assistance Program. You can confidentially talk with a counselor. It does not have to be work-related. You can talk about anything on your mind. It can be personal problems, partnership problems, family problems, anything that you just want to talk about. The mission of UC Davis ASAP is to provide high quality confidential counseling services for all levels of the UC Davis and UC Davis Health System staff in a safe and supportive environment using highly skilled clinicians. I have the link here. You can learn more about the program and book an appointment. And it is free of charge to all staff and faculty. Next is body changes. So you may experience a larger waist, losing muscle and gaining fat. Skin becomes thinner, memory problems or brain fog, joint and muscle stiffness or aches. And researchers are exploring these changes and how they relate to hormones and aging, because a lot of these are also a natural part of aging, but they want to learn more about how does this relate to hormones and aging. Is there a connection? Are they separate? Things like that. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to go off in the chat and say, what experiences have you experienced? I'm sorry, what symptoms have you experienced? Are they on the list? Have you experienced things that nobody else maybe has heard of? And I think you would learn from the chat that maybe there is someone else there who has experienced your symptom that might be unique. I'm just going to click and see what everyone's saying. Interesting, hair loss. Yes, I have heard of that. Wow, yeah, there is a lot. See, a lot of what people are saying, I didn't talk about. And that just shows you how many different symptoms are out there that people can experience. All right, I'm going to go over to the next slide, but thank you all for sharing. It is really interesting to hear about everyone's different symptoms. So next we're going to go into the health risks associated with menopause. First is osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is when the insides of the bones become less dense. They're more fragile and there is an increased likelihood of fracture. Again, another function of estrogen is it preserves bone mass. So it signals to cells in bones to stop breaking down. Treatments include estrogen therapy, so this may help with the bone preservation. And then there's coronary artery disease. So the changes in hormones and your metabolism are happening. Estrogen has many heart protective benefits. It works on the liver to regulate lipid metabolism. As estrogen levels decrease, healthy lipid maintenance is affected. So a review of 66 studies found that postmenopausal individuals had higher LDL. LDL is your bad cholesterol, and total cholesterol compared with premenopausal. So a higher LDL and total cholesterol with a decreased HDL are risk factors for CAD. Your LDL is your bad cholesterol and your HDL is your good cholesterol. And the reason I put parentheses around that is just because good and bad might not be the best word for it, but it makes sense. So we want to have a higher HDL, which is linked to better heart health. So next is treatments and helping your symptoms. So what are some things that we can do? So there's hormone replacement therapy, which is just what it sounds like. It makes up for lost hormones, estrogen and progesterone. This boosts your hormone levels and helps symptoms like hot flashes and vaginal dryness, and may also prevent osteoporosis. There are two main therapy options. There's estrogen therapy, which is prescribed in a low dose, comes in many forms, patch, pill, cream, vaginal ring, gel, spray. It is not a good option if you still have a uterus. So this is for individuals who have had a full hysterectomy. They no longer have a uterus because estrogen stimulates the growth of your endometrial lining. So there's an increase of endometrial cancer if you take this and you still have a uterus. Estrogen and progesterone or progesterone therapy is better for those who still have a uterus, and it is also called combination therapy. Just like anything else, there is a risk to hormone therapy. So endometrial cancer in using estrogen and still having a uterus, gallstones and gallbladder issues, blood clots, deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism or stroke. It's important to talk with your OBGYN and doctor if hormone therapy is correct for you. You have to take into account your genetic predisposition to these possible side effects. But best practice is to be on the lowest dose for the shortest amount of time to decrease your risk. There's plenty of non-hormonal therapy options, such as changing your diet, avoiding triggers to hot flashes, exercising, attending support groups, prescription meds, even over-the-counter meds, and acupuncture. So here's just a few ways of helping these major symptoms. Again, there is a lot of different symptoms people experience, but these are kind of the top three. So for sleep, following a regular sleep schedule may help. We know that going to sleep at the same time and waking up around the same time really regulates your sleep. Avoiding napping, especially later in the day around 3 or 4, this can affect your overall sleep at night. Developing a bedtime routine. So maybe sitting down with tea and a book or listening to an audio story, something like that might help you get ready for bed. Exercise. So exercising can make us tired and have a better night's sleep. Avoiding alcohol. So alcohol is a known sleep disruptor. So it is definitely not going to help you get a restful night's sleep. avoiding eating a large meal before bed. So eating right before bed can cause indigestion, heartburn, acid reflux, and it also can cause you to have to sit up in bed for longer than you might want to because you're not feeling well. Avoiding caffeine late in the day. So caffeine actually has a half-life of 5 hours, meaning it takes about 5 hours for half of the caffeine you consume to be metabolized out of your body. So it's important to keep in mind, what time are you drinking your last cup of coffee or tea or energy drink, because that can affect your sleep depending on what time you go to sleep. Next is hot flashes. So avoid wearing tight clothing. I know even for myself, when I wear tight clothing, I can feel hot. Never mind if I'm experiencing a hot flash. Dressing in layers so you can change. Thinking about, if you were to wear a sweater to work and then you experience a hot flash, you can't just take off your sweater. So thinking of having something on underneath, maybe a t-shirt or a tank top. So if you do feel really hot, you can just take off that top layer and cool down a little bit. Avoiding caffeine. So caffeine is a trigger for hot flashes. Avoiding spicy foods, also a trigger. Managing stress, avoiding alcohol. So alcohol is also a trigger for hot flashes. And certain antidepressants can reduce hot flashes. So SSRIs may be prescribed to help with this. Next is mood changes. So getting plenty of rest can help with your mood changes. Exercising regularly. So we know that exercise releases endorphins in our brain, which is our feel-good, happy chemical. Next is finding activities you love, doing your favorite hobby or something you really like, reading, writing, or going outside, gardening, things like that. Spending more time outside. So going outside also releases endorphins, your feel-good chemical. And then working with a mental health counselor to help regulate your emotions or your mood. Um, I have bolded here the top three, so exercise, avoidance of alcohol, and avoidance of caffeine. You can see how these may help with multiple different symptoms. So that might be a place to start. I want to talk about mymenoplan.org. So this is a website where it has resources to learn more about menopause and symptom management. So you're able to actually create a personalized treatment plan. You can investigate various symptom management plans and recommendations, and they have a bunch of different categories here. So prescription meds, mind-body wellness approach, food, herbs, supplements, and over-the-counter products, professional help, things you can try on your own, and coping strategies. So I have the link there. Check it out and see what you think. See if there's anything useful or for you that you might want to try. Next, we're going to get into the nutritional implications. So first is dairy and calcium. So dairy contains calcium, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K, which are all essential for bone health. So as we talked about earlier, you're at an increased risk of osteoporosis. So it's important to prioritize these nutrients. A study of 750 postmenopausal women found that those who ate more dairy and animal protein had significantly higher bone density. There are other sources of calcium aside from dairy. So, of course, our dairy sources are milk, cheese, and yogurt. But for calcium, you can get them through fortified milk alternatives, leafy greens, seeds, almonds, fortified cereals, and sardines and canned salmon. Healthy fats. So these are important for your heart health. Unsaturated fats and omega-3s. These decrease your LDL, that bad cholesterol, and raise your HDL, your good cholesterol, which may reduce your risk of coronary artery disease. A review study of 483 women concluded that omega-3 supplements decrease the frequency of hot flashes and severity of night sweats. But on the other hand, some other studies showed no effect, so the results are inconclusive, but it doesn't hurt to try. And this does not have to be through supplementation. Just increasing your omega-3 foods that you're eating, such as fatty fish like mackerel, salmon, and anchovies, seeds like flax seeds, chia seeds, and hemp seeds. Also, walnuts, almonds, olive oil, avocado oil, and avocados are all high sources of unsaturated fats and omega-3s. Next is saturated fats. So the dietary guidelines for Americans recommends getting less than 10% of your calories each day from saturated fats. Um, Recent research shows that saturated fat consumption may have little to no effect on heart disease risk. But it's important to replace some saturated fats with unsaturated fats because there are several health benefits. It's important to focus on whole foods and a balanced diet, not just restricting certain things. So some sources of saturated fat are butter, red meat, sausages, lard, coconut oil. Think of things that are solid at room temperature. So butter is solid, red meat, that marbling you see, the white throughout the red meat and maybe the big white strip on the side, that is all saturated fat. Next is whole grains. So whole grains are high in fiber and vitamins such as thiamine, niacin, and pantothenic acid. Diets high in whole grains have been linked to reduced risk of heart disease. So again, this is important for menopausal individuals who are at risk. Some sources include brown rice, popcorn, barley, quinoa, and whole wheat bread. It's important to keep in mind that when shopping for whole grain products, you need to see the word whole. If you do not see the word whole on the product, it is not considered a whole grain. So you might have wheat bread and you might have whole wheat bread. The wheat bread doesn't really mean anything. The whole wheat bread is what you want because that is a true whole grain. Next is fruit and vegetables. So I think we all know that fruits and vegetables are very important for us. They're packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. 1 year-long study of 17,000 menopausal women found that those who ate more fruits, veggies, fiber, and soy had a 19% reduction in hot flashes. So that might be something to try. Many studies have shown benefits of different fruits and vegetables on menopausal women, but more research is needed. The American Heart Association recommends 4 servings of fruit per day and 5 servings of vegetables per day. These can be in any form you want: fresh, frozen, canned, dried, or 100% fruit or vegetable juice. People often don't think that frozen vegetables are as good as fresh, but I'm here to tell you that they are better, actually. So frozen vegetables are picked at the peak ripeness, so they have the most amount of nutrients in them, and then they're flash frozen, so they're kind of frozen in time with those nutrients. Whereas fresh, they start to lose those nutrients once they're picked. That's not to deter you from buying fresh vegetables. Of course, they are still just as good, but it's important to keep in mind if you can't get fresh, then to buy frozen. There's nothing wrong with that. Next is quality protein. So the loss of estrogen causes decreased muscle mass and bone strength. Menopausal individuals should eat about 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein per day. So this is slightly higher than the RDA, which is 0.8 grams. 1 year-long study of 131 menopausal women who took 5 grams of collagen per day had significantly better bone mineral density. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the body, and vitamin C is a precursor to collagen production. So increasing your consumption of vitamin C can possibly increase your collagen production. So consuming foods high in vitamin C, such as citrus, might be helpful. A large study of adults over 50 found that dairy protein reduced hip fracture by 8% and plant protein by 12%. Working in the skilled nursing facility and working with seniors, I have seen what hip fractures can do to people. They can unfortunately really take a toll on their overall well-being. It is a lot to heal from. So kind of preemptively helping yourself by increasing protein consumption and dairy or calcium consumption may help reduce your risk of fracture. Some sources are eggs, fish, meat, tofu, legumes, dairy, nuts, seeds, beans. And some collagen sources are bone broth, aloe vera, fish and shellfish, and gelatin. Next is phytoestrogen containing foods. So these are compounds in foods that act as weak estrogen in the body. There is some controversy around this topic because this is considered a hormone mimicker, meaning that it is able to fit into your hormone receptor just like the real hormone. It is often a negative thing, but with phytoestrogens, there is a lot of research that says it's beneficial, especially through menopause when your estrogen levels are very low. A review of 15 studies ranging from 3 to 12 months found that phytoestrogens, including soy, isoflavones, and red clover, lowered incidences of hot flashes with no side effects. Some sources are soybeans, chickpeas, peanuts, flax seeds, plums, and green and black tea. Some foods to limit that may help with symptom management, added sugar and processed carbs. So high blood sugar, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome have been linked to higher incidences of hot flashes. Avoiding alcohol and caffeine, I've already said it multiple times, but these are sleep disruptors and they can trigger hot flashes. Spicy foods. So one study of 896 women in Spain and South America found that spicy foods increased hot flashes. And high salt foods. So high salt foods are linked to a lower bone density in postmenopausal individuals. Decreased estrogen causes an increased risk of high blood pressure as well. One study over 9,500 women found that the intake greater than 2 grams per day had a 28% higher risk of lower bone mineral density. So the overall takeaway from the nutrition portion here is to focus on balanced meals with high quality protein, whole grains, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. Consuming omega-3s and unsaturated fats will support heart health. Phytoestrogen foods may help with symptoms. Avoidance of caffeine and alcohol is best for symptom management. And dairy and calcium containing foods will support bone health and density. So next, we're going to get into how to support individuals going through this transition. This slide here is for someone who is living with or working with or has any relation to someone going through menopause and how you can better support that individual. So learning more, educating yourself on the symptoms and the changes happening in the body. This gives you a better insight on what individuals are going through and kind of what they're experiencing. Listening, so asking how they're feeling and what they're experiencing, just kind of understanding them a little bit better. It's important not to make assumptions. Like we've said, everyone's experience and everyone's symptom is different. So not making assumptions on, oh, they're experiencing a hot flash, or, oh, this is what they must be going through. You don't know exactly. And helping with symptoms. So we know that an active, healthy lifestyle can ease symptoms. So encouraging this person to go on walks, go on a hike, go for a swim, doing something active will help them. Cooking a balanced meal together at home rather than going out, that might be something for you to do to help with their symptoms. And this also brings me to my next point of intimacy. So doing an activity together is a part of intimacy. So talking about treatment options for discomfort, if you're experiencing discomfort around intimacy, knowing that there are other ways to show your love besides sex. So we talked about doing an activity together, maybe going on a date night, having something planned just for you and your partner or your friend or whoever you're with. And understanding symptoms and respecting an individual's decision around sex. At the end of the day, the person who's experiencing these symptoms kind of makes the final call on what they're most comfortable with. Support in the workplace. That's kind of part of why this webinar is happening, is to better understand how we can support individuals at UC Davis. So a survey of 1,000 UK women found that 45% said symptoms had a negative effect on their work. And 47% said that they needed to take the day off because of symptoms. There are negative side effects that can have an impact on work performance, such as brain fog, the hot flashes, heavy bleeding, and just not feeling like themselves. There's a $1.8 billion cost to the US due to adverse work outcomes, such as coming in late, leaving early, or needing to take the day off completely due to symptoms. And it jumps up to $26.8 billion when you're including medical costs. So having extra doctor's appointments, paying for prescription meds or over-the-counter meds, things like that. And 10% of women are choosing to leave the workforce because of menopause. They just feel like it is taking over too much of their life, and work is kind of not their main priority here because they have the symptoms to deal with. So the support in the workplace continued, reasonable requests that you can ask for. So if possible, if your work allows for it, a work from home option might be good for you. So you can consult the flexible work policy at UC Davis. I have the link here. There's also requesting different uniforms. So maybe short sleeves instead of long sleeves, or a baggier, more breathable work shirt option rather than a tight uniform. Asking for a fan, or moving to a cooler part of the office. You can bring a fan in from home if you choose to do that. Just let your supervisors know so they can take the proper safety precautions to make sure that the fan is safe. And then setting reminders to help with brain fog. So having that extra support around your schedule, just making sure that you're staying on top of things might help. So support groups. I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Laura Fejerman, and she can talk about the Menopause support group on campus.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited about this session today, and I've been looking at the million questions everyone has and the comments. And if you've never been to the Menopause interest group meetings, please just email me and I'll add you to the invite. It's a UC Davis group of faculty and staff that we meet once a month. Usually it's the first Friday of the month at 4 p.m. And we just talk about what we're going through. We share symptoms. We share ideas of how to deal with those symptoms. We have like a resource folder. We share articles, books, like the Jen Gunter book is in our resources. We talked about it. There's other books, there's other podcasts. And just come. If you can't make it every month, that's okay. Usually there's like 100 of us in the list of interested people, but usually there's 15 that show up, and we really just talk as friends. It's very, very informal. The other reason for the group is we want Michelle Belden started this with me, and we both wanted to also think about ways UC Davis can support us as people going through peri and menopause. And for example, this webinar is one of the ways we can feel supported, but also there are other things that we're thinking we can do. And so if you want to join the group, we also talk about what those things look like, and we'll try to make things happen for all of us. So if you have any questions about the group, email me. If you want to be added to the invites, email me. It's all very straightforward. I think that's it on my side.
Thank you. It's great to learn that there is a support group on campus already, and that there is a lot of people who are experiencing it. Next, I have a few resources. So there is a lot of resources out there. My references page is 18 different sources that I used, which is still not as many as there is out there. So these are just a few that I have highlighted that I found to be very helpful. So the Menopause Guidebook by the North American Menopause Society. The Menopause Manifesto, Own Your Health with Facts and Feminism by Dr. Jane Gunter. I use this book as a resource, and I found that it was very easy to read, and there's a lot of useful information in there. So I recommend checking it out. I got it from my local library, so I'm sure it is on UC Davis Campus Library. So see if it's there. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has a whole women's health page with lots of menopause information on there. And then the North American Menopause Society, they have their own website with a lot of resources. And there's more to come. This webinar is just the start. So we want to learn how to better support staff and faculty going through this transition. The future goal is to increase education and awareness through talks with experts in the field who can provide a lot of insight and information. There was an opinion piece posted by Dr. Laura Fejerman and Mariana Stern. It is called "It's Time to Talk Openly About Menopause in Academia." So again, we're starting to scratch the surface of this topic, and the link is there for you to read yourself. And your comments and ideas are appreciated. If you want to add this into the chat, what do you want to see UC Davis do to support you through this transition? What can we do to help? And with that being said, this is all the information, and we are ready to move on to the Q&A portion of the talk.
Thank you so much, Sophia. What a wonderful introduction to this topic that isn't talked about very much. And based on the questions that we've been asked, it is very clear that the conversation needs to be talked about here at UC Davis. There are a few nutrition-related questions that I can give to you. There are also lots of other questions on just various, pieces of menopause and things that we really aren't prepared to answer today. But I have copied and pasted. I have all those questions, and we are going to work like you wrote in. Next steps is getting somebody to address the campus community that's interested in talking about some of these details. One person wrote, what is a good source of over-the-counter supplements? Where's a good place to buy those? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with over-the-counter supplements, the most important piece is making sure that they are third-party tested. So over-the-counter supplements are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. Food and Drug Administration actually does not look into supplements until people make claims that they're having negative side effects. So you really don't know what you're buying. You have to just trust that the manufacturer is telling you the truth, and what they're putting in there is all that they're putting in there. You can look for on the supplement, there'll be a little seal that will show you that it's third-party tested, and that is just verifying that the amount of the supplement is correct. They may say 1,000 milligrams or 500 milligrams. So that is correct. That is exactly what you're getting, and that the source of the supplement is accurate. So that's important. You can buy supplements anywhere. A lot of people get them at the drugstore like CVS or Walgreens. So it doesn't really matter where you buy them. Just checking that the third party tested is kind of the main way that you can ensure that they're safe and effective.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sophia. I have also heard that store brands are often one of the purest sources of, one-a-day style vitamin and mineral supplements. So it's not necessary to pay a whole bunch of money for them either. Mm-hmm. Another question is talking about collagen supplements. So there are a lot of collagen supplements, many of them for cosmetic purposes. How do the supplements compare to what is found in foods such as bone broth? Do you have any information about that?
That's something I need to look into a little bit more. I don't know exactly what the difference is. I think it comes down to, I would guess, just grams. So how much are you getting? How many grams are you getting per serving in bone broth versus how much are you getting in supplement? If the amount in the bone broth is the same as the supplement, then I would assume they're interchangeable. And the source doesn't necessarily matter.
I would agree with that. And there are quite a few foods that contain collagen. And if we're eating a varied diet, it isn't likely that you would need a supplement. But there are supplements available if you're interested in trying that out. I don't see any other nutrition related questions. There are a couple of questions about weight, and in particular, as it relates to an elevated A1C level. And so two questions were asked on this, and the A1Cs that these two individuals posted were in the pre-diabetes range. And so then they had been asked, or it was suggested to them, that if they lost weight, that they might be able to improve that number. But the scale won't budge no matter what I do, was the sentiment of both of those folks. And the thing with menopause is that those hormones and the changes in those hormones cause our bodies to start hanging on to fat in different ways than it did when those hormones were active. And so it does put us then postmenopausal as a bit more at risk to the heart disease and the things that Sophia talked about. The thing is that there's not, I mean, weight and diet and exercise is a really small piece of the puzzle around what causes chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes. So I would encourage you to take a look, especially these two comments that we're talking about, A1C. Take a look on our website. It's wellbeing.ucdavis.edu at the Diabetes Prevention Program. That is a non-diet look at what kinds of lifestyle habits or the way that we're living our life. Is there something I can do to decrease my risk of that prediabetes going into type 2 diabetes? Our program is not it's a non-diet program, because weight loss in itself causes a lot of things to happen to the body that predisposes it to chronic disease. So what we would like to do is stop trying to lose weight, because most of us know that weight loss diets don't work. They work, and then you go off of them and they don't. And when they don't, and we gain that weight back, it's doing a lot of bad things to our metabolism. So again, if you're interested in joining our non-diet diabetes prevention program, we are getting cohorts together for January. So I'd encourage you to do that. Let's see, did anybody else have any other questions on food, nutrition? I'm sorry, there are a whole lot of comments, and I am so glad that the community is engaged with this, because this right here we will take to the folks that can help us and say, we are interested. This is what we need as a campus community to support each other. Let's see. Is there any evidence that fasting helps with symptoms? Sophia, I don't know if you ran across any of that.
I didn't. No, I didn't see any of that in my research.
I have not seen any research around that either. And like you said, it is so individualized that we have to learn our own bodies and learn what makes our own bodies respond, and then go with that.
Yeah, kind of like a trial and error type of stage of your life to see what helps with symptom management and what doesn't.
Exactly. All right. Well, we have another question. Sorry. What foods will help with osteoporosis? And are there any foods that make it worse?
So there was that study about high salt foods. So a high sodium diet was linked to a higher chance of low mineral density in the bones. So that is one thing that may make it worse. But having a diet high in dairy products or calcium. So your bones are made up of calcium along with a bunch of other nutrients, but the calcium and dairy in particular are very important for bone health. And the other nutrients like phosphorus, I'm trying to remember the vitamin D and vitamin K as well.
And a couple of things that can make it worse, and I'm not going to say that it makes the osteoporosis disease process worse, but phosphoric acid is an antagonist to calcium. And so it can keep the calcium from depositing on the bone, even with the adequate amounts of vitamin D and others that Sophia was talking about. We get phosphoric acid in sodas, the brown colored soda pops. Most of those have phosphoric acid. And then there's a couple of other, some of the fibers in vegetables, but to me that doesn't really play into it much because the vegetables are so high in other nutrients, whereas the soda pop doesn't have any other nutrients. So it might be something to think about if you drink a lot of those. All right, I think we are at the end. Oops, I also wanted to, gosh, there is so much going on here. I
There is a
think
lot of
maybe,
questions.
yes. I think maybe we can stay on and let the chat going. Our plan from here is to take this information and express the interest of the community to some experts that we can engage and continue this conversation. So I really appreciate everyone coming today, and keep an eye on our website, wellbeing.ucdavis.edu, to see what's next in our series here on menopause. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you all for coming and taking the time out of your day to be here. I really appreciate it.